What's going on, all my toy collectors and Batman fans out there? You know who it is. It's your boy Ox, and welcome to the Cave of Wonders. Now, if you guys been following my channel, you'll know that here in the cave, we're all about the TMC. Toys, movies, and customs. And today, we're going to be taking a look at one of the grail customs that I have down here in the cave. We're going to be taking a look at the Batman Returns movie, Penguin Duckmobile. This right here was custom made by Tyler Peterson over at Kenner Customs and Replacement Upgrades. I'll leave a link in the description below. For right now, let's go ahead and take a look at this amazing vehicle and see how it scales in comparison to some of the old Kenner Batman vehicles from back in the day. Let's get into it. Okay, now taking a look at the Duckmobile up close, I want to remind you guys this is a custom made piece, so there's no kind of toy box or anything like that this thing's going to come in, okay? Now, this vehicle is based off of the 1992 Tim Burton Batman Returns movie, the one that when Michael Keaton was Batman. Now, if you guys remember, Danny DeVito was the Penguin in that movie, and he would ride around in a Duckmobile, and this is it right on the back of that VHS box, okay? And that's what this Duckmobile is based off of, all right? Now, they never actually ended up making this in toy form back when Kenner had the DC license when they were making, toys for that movie, basically. So they never ended up making this, and it was kind of a bummer because it was a missed opportunity. I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities, back when Kenner ended up having the license. They made great toys. Don't get me wrong, Kenner's some of my favorite toys that I have down here in the cave. But I feel like they missed out making villains vehicles. For example, the 1989 Batman movie, they could have made the Joker's helicopter, the Joker's goon cars, and Batman Returns that, they could have made this Duckmobile, but they didn't. And Batman Forever, they could have made Two-Face's vehicle, or they could have made Mr. Freeze's, freezing vehicle, but they didn't. But they would always make the Batmobiles, the Batwings, the Batboats, all these different, vehicles. Even in that 97 Batman and Robin movie, they made, all these different ice vehicles to go up against Mr. Freeze. But it's like, where's their vehicles at? Like, what's the use of making a bat boat if you're going to be chasing the Riddler swimming in the water? That don't really make any sense. So I always wanted them to make, the vehicles for the villains, but they never did. So that's why this vehicle is going to be one of the grails down here for me in my cave. Now, like I said, this was made, it was 3D printed out of PLA, and I'm not too familiar with 3D printing, so I'm not really sure exactly all the work that ends up going into that. I know there's a lot of sanding and stuff like that, and I know there's a lot of different materials you can use, but just going off of what Tyler ended up telling me, that this was made of PLA and it was 3D printed. Now, I remember him showing me it was made of, I think it was like 3 different parts: the housing of the duck, the bottom right here, and then the inside where the seats are, and then he ended up hooking it all together. I think maybe even the wings, they're just 3D printed by themselves, and he ended up hooking those on, okay? Now, the wheels themselves, I think, are made of like some kind of like a monster truck or like a modeling wheels or something like that. And then he ended up just printing off these little designs and then painting them and then hooking them on there and gluing them on, okay? Now, if you guys seen the movie or paused any kind of screenshots, off Google or something like that, you'll know that there's like a grill, just like a grill for any car that sucks in air. So it's really cool that he ended up adding that in. To be real with you, I wasn't even expecting all of this airbrushing orange and everything like that. I just thought this thing was going to be a yellow duck with a yellow beak and some eyes painted on it. I didn't even expect all this extra work. So I'm really excited that he was able to do that for me. Right here, I'm going to guess some of this is either painted or maybe he had some kind of little stencil or something like that he ended up painting off of. But most of it all came out really well. I can see like a little mess up right there, but that's obviously not a big deal for me because this is an awesome looking vehicle. I really love the way it looks. I love the way it scales with my other Kenner Batmobiles and stuff like that, and I'll show you that towards the end of the review, all right? Now, I've already measured this thing out for you. It measured out to 9 inches tall by 10 inches long from the front of the beak to the back, by 6 inches wide, either by the wings or the wheels right here as well, okay? So this thing does scale really well with the other vehicles. And I want to show you guys how it looks with the figures inside of it. But I want to let you guys know that on the inside right here, it does have 2 seats just like it did in the movie. And you guys can fit some of your little penguin commandos that Kenner had made for that Batman Returns movie. And you guys can fit figures in here. But if you guys remember that penguin for the Batman Returns movie, it didn't really have a lot of leg articulation and it to end up bending to sitting in here because you know, this spot right here isn't too big to fit because that penguin was like a really chunky figure. So I wouldn't think that figure would fit in here. I actually don't have that one because I use the old Mattel 4-inch multiverse, DC comic multiverse penguin right there, because I like the way that one looks. So that's the one that I'm going to be displaying with this. Okay, and as you guys can see, it does have a little steering wheel that does rotate. It also pulls out a little bit. It doesn't come all the way out, but it does pull up. That way you guys can try and slide your figure down in there, and if you guys need to, you guys can push this down a little bit. All right, same with the wheels. They do articulate, so you guys can roll this back and forth, but it's not something you're going to be wanting to give to a kid to play with, to bash around. Like I said, it is 3D printed. It is nice and, you know, hard plastic, but if you guys start slamming this thing around, odds is it's going to break. Okay, which I'm sure you guys wouldn't anyway, because if you guys paid to have this thing done, you don't want to just give it to a kid to end up messing up. All right, but yeah, man, a lot of detail, a lot of work put into this. Big shout out, big thank you to Tyler Peterson for making this for me. Let me show you guys what it looks like with the figures inside of it. Okay. Okay, now, like I said, I'm going to be using the old Mattel DC Comics Multiverse 4-inch penguin figure. I really like this one compared to the one from Kenner, because the one from Kenner, it just looked like it was reused from the Superpowers penguin from like the early 80s, and it didn't look anything like Danny DeVito to me. Even the outfit that they painted him in, it looked too cartoonish. It didn't look anything like he did in the movie. So that's why I'm going to end up using this 4-inch figure right here. Now, I do have a Kenner Batman figure right here, and this penguin scales really well with that figure as well, because he's so much shorter. But so I'll show you guys this figure right here standing next to this Duckmobile, so you guys can get a good look at how he looks as far as the Kenner figure standing next to it. Okay, now this figure actually has a little bit better articulation than that Kenner penguin figure that they made for the Batman Returns movie, but his legs they spread apart right here, but they don't bend too much at the knees, only just a little bit. So it's not really, you know, it doesn't fit very well because of the back of his trench coat right here is kind of hard. So it doesn't allow him to sit down. Every time I push him down, the coat just basically pushes him back up. But like I said, you guys can lift up this steering wheel right here. You guys can get this figure in there just like that. And you guys can't really push him too far down, because every time I try and push him down, his jacket ends up basically pushing him back up. Okay, so he can't sit down the way you want him to, but it's not like it's the Duckmobile's fault. It's because it's wide enough for the figure to sit in there. It's just that they haven't actually made a penguin that has good enough articulation that he'll end up bending his legs properly, because as you guys can see, his legs only bend just a little bit. They do spread out pretty wide, but his trench coat and everything don't end up helping him sit down. So basically what I do is I just basically have him standing up like he did in that movie. You guys can stand him up and have him basically looking down at Batman. If you guys remember that old movie, the Duckmobile ended up rising out of the floor of like a nightclub that Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle were at, and that's where he had ended up like kidnapping the mayor or kidnapping Shrek or whatever. So I'm gonna have him basically displayed just like this. Now, if you guys have a bunch of your Penguin Commandos that were made by Kenner, you guys can actually fit these in the back, and they just fit right there. I have a whole bunch of them. Like I said, this vehicle doesn't have any kind of projectiles, doesn't have any kind of action features as far as like pulling it back, the wheels wind up and it shoots forward or anything like that. But it's really cool that these penguins end up having missiles and they'll end up shooting, because in the movie, the Duckmobile didn't have any kind of machine guns or anything like that on it. So it's not like this thing is missing anything that it didn't end up having in the movie. Okay, now here's a quick scale comparison of that Duckmobile next to some figures. I got him standing next to this 5-inch Kenner Batman figure, and also this 4.5-inch Mattel DC Multiverse figure. I just wanted to show you guys just how big this vehicle is, you know, when you're sitting them next to these older figures right here. Same with that, the penguin that we had just looked at, that I put them on the inside. Now, these two figures are made by Mattel. Like I said, they're the DC Multiverse figures. And as you guys can see, this penguin is actually bigger than Michael Keaton, which he wasn't supposed to be. He's actually supposed to be shorter. So that's why he looks proper size standing next to the old Kenner Batman figure right there. Okay. But, I just wanted to let you guys see exactly just how these figures ended up scaling next to this vehicle. All right. Now let's show this Duckmobile sitting next to some other Kenner Batman vehicles. All right. Okay, now here's the Duckmobile next to the Bat ski boat. This right here was made by Kenner. And if you guys remember, towards the end of the movie, Batman was driving this through the sewers, and he ended up popping out of one of the sewer tunnels, and he crashed right into this Duckmobile. So these two play a big part towards the end of that Batman Returns movie, okay? But I just wanted to show you guys how it looked like in scale next to this vehicle. As you guys can see, this thing is a lot longer. You know, just because it's meant to be long and slick, you know, like a boat or whatever. But as you guys can see, it's shorter, just like it was in the movie, okay? This thing is a taller vehicle, but it's not as wide or as long, basically, as some of the other vehicles we're going to be comparing it to, okay? Okay, now here it is next to the Dark Knight Collection's Batmobile. Obviously, they did come out with a Batmobile for the Batman Returns movie. Ended up being wider and longer, and I'll show you guys that one as well, okay? But this is the Batmobile I'm going to be displaying this Duckmobile next to. And as you guys can see, this Batmobile is longer. Like I said, this Batmobile ended up measuring out to 14 inches long. This Duckmobile measured out to 10 inches long, okay? Now, obviously, the Batmobile is meant to be shorter and longer, just like that Bat ski boat, but they do sit very well together. They do compare very well together, because like I said, the Duckmobile is taller. It's meant to be taller, okay? Okay, now here's the Batman Returns Batmissile by Kenner. I'm actually missing the canopy for this one. This is one of my used ones I have that I was missing a canopy on. And as you guys can see, this thing is a lot wider, a lot longer. I think this thing ends up even measuring out to... Yeah, this thing measures out to almost 17 inches long. So this thing is even longer than the Dark Knight Collection's Batmobile, which I think we just looked at was 14 inches, okay? So this thing is a bit bigger than this Duckmobile, but they never actually showed the Batmobile next to the Penguin's vehicle in that movie. So I'm not really sure exactly how much bigger the Batmobile is compared to this. They only showed it next to that Bat ski boat when they basically drove into each other, okay? But yeah, I just wanted to show you these vehicles lined up next to this Duckmobile. Like I said, he made this in scale with these vehicles, and that's why I think it scales really well next to that Bat ski boat and next to the other Batmobile that we just looked at, okay? Okay, now like I said earlier, Kenner never made any kind of Penguin Duckmobile for that Batman Returns movie, so I don't have anything to compare this to as far as looks. The only thing I have is this little Hot Wheel car that Hot Wheels had came out with, and obviously you guys can see that it has the same little stars on the wheels, a little spinning symbol right there. You know, a little steering wheel and everything like that. Same kind of design right here on the bottom that you'll see on here. Obviously, this thing has more airbrushing because it's custom made or whatever. But yeah, this is the only other little Duckmobile that I have, you know, as far as the Penguin's vehicle. This is the only thing that I have to compare it to. And obviously, this thing is a lot bigger because it's meant to fit figures, okay? Now, like I said, the person who ended up making this, he also makes other parts. And I want to show you guys some of those parts real quick that he ends up making, all right? Okay, now like I said, Tyler does make other parts for these different vehicles. This is actually what I ended up reaching out to his group for, because I end up having 3 of these Dark Knight Collections Batmobiles, and I end up having 3 of these Batmissiles or whatever. So I was missing certain pieces from each one, ones that I just found at yard sales and stuff like that. I was missing fins or the missiles, or I was missing the canopy, and that's what he ends up making. So this right here is the canopy for the Dark Knight Collections Batmobile. Like I said, he'll end up sending it to you. Whatever you guys discuss, it'll either be sanded or unsanded, and you'll just have to sand it yourself. And it does come with a little clear windshield. He just forgot to send those to me, so I can't really show you guys what they look like, but they'll basically end up looking like that, okay? Now, as you guys can see, it doesn't have a little hinge piece on the back right here in order for it to snap on to that part of the Batmobile, but it does sit on there just fine. So let's take a look. This right here is the Kenner Dark Knight Collections Batmobile. Like I said, it does have a hinge. I'm not going to pop this off just because I don't want to break it right here. This is the one that I have displayed. I actually have 2 of these that are missing the canopy right here. But as you guys can see, this right here is the same size. It's a little bit wider up at the top, but it fits on there just fine. So if you guys didn't have this canopy right there, it'll end up fitting on there just like that. And like I said, he will send you a little clear plastic window. Just don't expect it to snap on right here because it doesn't have that little hinge piece, okay? Now, he also makes these little fins right here. So say you're missing the fin, you guys can buy these little replacement fins, and this right here is what it looks like. I know it's gray, but that's because it has to be painted. You know, 3D printed stuff has to be sanded and painted and everything like that. Now, I didn't end up paying him to paint these or nothing like that, but I'm going to show you guys how this ends up fitting on here, just like the other one does. Slide it in there just like that, and boom. And you guys can see how it looks just like there, okay? So if you guys are missing pieces for these older Kenner vehicles, he ends up making them, and they work really well. You're just gonna have to go ahead and paint them, all right? Yep, and that right there is how that looks. Now he also makes the front projectile. Two of these end up don't have. Like I said, I have 3 of these, and 2 of them ended up not having this piece right here. Now this thing doesn't shoot out. It looks just like the original one. It just doesn't have a spring on the inside of it. But this right here is what he ends up making. I know a lot of you guys are missing this piece right here. If you guys lost it as a kid or possibly bought this thing used and it didn't end up having one. I wanted to keep my original one in the box because I didn't want to lose anything for it. And then I wanted to display one. So that's why the one I had when I was little, I was missing parts for. And this ends up fitting great. Just slides right in there just like that. Now, if you guys know that there is a spring in here, if you guys just push the button down, it'll end up just sitting in there just like that. Okay. And right there is how it looks. So if you guys are trying to, you know, finish off your, you know, missing parts from these vehicles, you guys can go ahead and order those from him. All right. Now that right there is for the Dark Knight Collection Batmobile. But like I said, he also does make pieces for the Batman Returns Batmissile. And this right here is the canopy for that one, okay? Now you guys can see the difference in this canopy compared to this one from the Dark Knight collections. This one was a little bit wider, or a little bit taller, not as wide as this one, but taller basically. And as you guys can see, it doesn't have a little hinge that it's meant to have right here, but it does fit on there just like that, okay? And right there is how it looks. And that's exactly how the other one looks as well, besides it, you know, missing that little hinge. And like I said, it does come with a little piece of plastic, you know, whatever it's made out of, glass or whatever, not glass, but plastic, that's gonna that go inside of here. Like I said, he just forgot to send those to me. He'll be sending them to me soon, okay? But yeah, and he also makes the little fins right here for this vehicle as well. So let's say, ooh, if I can get these off. Let's say you're missing the fin or whatever. This right here is his 3D printed fin right here. Only thing it's missing is this little piece right here, but it's not really needed once you hook it on. But it's all the same size, the same thickness and everything. And I'll show you guys how that ends up fitting on, all right? Just like that. Hold on, I think I put the wrong side on. Hold on. Here it is. There we go. Sorry, I put the wrong fin on. But as you guys can see, this right here is how it's going to end up looking. Like I said, either you'll have to sand it and just paint it yourself. He ended up sending me mine already sanded. And then I'm not really sure whatever discussion you guys contact him and have. You know, it might give you a discount if you guys just sand the pieces yourselves, okay? But yeah. Right there, replacement fins for the Batman Returns Batmissile and a replacement canopy. Like I said, just remember there's no hinge, okay? So, you know, if you're going to order from him and think that you're going to possibly get the exact same canopy from the, you know, from the original toy, you're not going to get that. So, I think he basically does that as well because, well, first, it's more work. Those little hinges might pop off. And plus, his plan is to not replace those parts. That way people aren't like selling these vehicles on eBay or something like that saying it's the exact same part that Kenner had made, because that wasn't his intention. His intention is for making these pieces for collectors who are possibly missing these pieces and can't find them on the internet, can't find them on eBay, because a lot of these things go for a lot of money. Like this missile right here ends up going for a lot of money. You know, if you guys don't have the original missile, you know, there's really no way of actually getting it. So this is a good way for you guys to end up finding this and getting it 3D printed, okay? Okay, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed that look at the Batman Returns Penguin Duckmobile. This right here is one of the grails that I have in the cave now. I'm really excited to add this piece to my collection. So a big shout out to Tyler. Thank you very much for making this for me. And if you guys are looking to get any kind of parts made, like them canopies for these Batmobiles, the fins, or even that projectile piece, make sure you guys reach out to his Facebook group. Like I said, it's called Kenner Customs and Replacement Upgrades. Go ahead and join that group and reach out to Tyler, and I'm sure he'll be able to hook you up with some of these pieces. And like I said, he is in the States, so the shipping isn't going to be outrageous, okay? Well, hope you guys enjoyed the review. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Until next time, stay cool.